Welcome to the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. This is your go-to resource for personal growth, mastering communication, and influencing and persuasion techniques that will help you unleash the full potential of yourself and others. Here is your host, Alex Morgan.
Welcome. This is episode 6 of the Hyper Growth Zone. And in this episode, we want to talk about decision making and the benefits of making good decisions. So we're going to get quite a bit in depth to all of this. And really, we want to make good decisions because sometimes if we don't make good decisions, what do? That costs us time. That costs us money. That costs us energy. It could be something as simple as going to plan a vacation, checking all the prices, and not making the decision because you don't like the price. And then you go back online in a couple days and guess what? The price went up. Has that ever happened to you? So would you like to be able to have a way to make better decisions? Do you think that would be useful for you? Or do you weigh back and forth in your mind all of these decisions and you never actually make them? And the thing is, people are convinced in different ways. So we'll also go into a bit about that. So let's go ahead and understand decision making. So we have different factors that influence our choices. So people make decisions in different ways. So some people, they're going to be convinced easily, automatically. If I were to ask you, how many times does someone have to demonstrate competence before you're convinced? For me, I'm pretty automatically convinced. But notice what your answer is, because you can be automatically convinced. Or maybe someone has to demonstrate competence a number of times. Maybe they have to do something 3-4 times until you're convinced. Or maybe it's a period of time. So maybe they have to do it for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months. Or maybe you're never convinced. So as people, we make decisions in different ways. So if you can recognize how you make decisions just from answering that simple question, then if you need to, let's say, book a vacation and you have a 3 times decision-making convincer, check out 3 different places. Fill that up. Make the decision. If you're going to the doctors for something and you want to get an opinion, go get an opinion of 3 doctors and then make the decision. So once you know what yours is, you can fill that up in your way quite easily. So then you can make the decision. And the thing is just because we fill ours up, we also want to make good decisions. So me personally, I know when I'm doing a good job. I don't ask people externally. I don't need that external recognition. So you also need to understand, so you don't make poor decisions, that if you are asking, let's say, external people, those people actually have what you want. You don't want to be asking people what they would do, how they would decide if they don't actually have what you want. Because how would they actually know? So that's another thing to consider when understanding decision making. Because if we're not understanding decision making, how we make decisions, or why we make decisions, or how long it takes us to make decisions, then we're not going to be able to get the results that we want. So now let's go ahead and look at the benefits of decision making. For me, the benefits of decision making when I make decisions, for me, time is really important. So if I'm making decisions and they're good ones, it's going to give me more time because now I'm not using that energy to make decisions. I can use that time to take actions and apply what I learned from making the decision. And the more decision you make, guess what? You can have increased confidence. So that's another benefit of making decisions. I used to have a really hard time making decisions. The travel concept that I brought up earlier, that example, I did that. Now I know, okay, I'm deciding that I'm going to this place that I want to go. And I need to either book it now or I need to book it by this day. I give myself a deadline and I make the decision. I do a bit of research. However, I tell myself, you need to do this now, or I go out into the future to plan, hey, Tuesday at this time, after work or after training, whatever you're doing, make the decision, reserve the booking, go on the vacation, enjoy it. Now there's no time. I'm not worrying about it. I'm not stressed. I don't care about the price because I've decided, I've done it. So that's another benefit of decision making is reduced stress. Because why would we want to stress ourselves out over making decisions? Yes, some decisions are bigger than others. However, I've seen many people that will stress themselves out over the simplest decisions. Something like going on vacation, it may sound big because you haven't been to the place before. That's a simple decision, though. Where do you want to go? What's your budget? Once you know those two things, decide. Make the decision. There's no sense in stressing yourself out, talking to other people, finding out if they went, what you should do, all these things. Just make the decision. Have your criteria. Criteria are things like budget for a vacation, place, what star hotel do you want to go, maybe a certain airline. So as long as those criteria are checked off, make the decision. Then you'll have no stress. And I've also found, I'm speaking personally here, that making decisions, it also improves my relationships because people know that I make decisions. So if they need something, they may even ask me like, hey, what should I do? And I'll just tell them, this is what I would do. If I had this decision, this is what I would do. Then it's up to them to decide. However, I try to guide them based on what they're asking me. I don't really look at it as people coming to me for advice. I'm not like a big advice giver. I'm more say, hey, this is what I would do, and guide them. So I found that people will look to me more as a leader in making decisions. And so they come to me. So I think that making decisions, people around you will see you as a person who makes decisions. And this can only benefit you. Because if you can make decisions, people respect that. Because a lot of people, like I said, they're not making these decisions. So I think there's some other benefits as well. It could lead to better health because if we have reduced stress, guess what? We're not stressing ourselves out. We're not going to have anxiety over the decision. We're not going to be worried about certain things. So guess what? This can lead to things like better sleep, better thinking. We'll have more time to focus on other things. Like I said earlier, when we make decisions, then we have more time to put in the actions because of the decision that we made. We're not thinking of the decision since we already made it. Now we can start implementing what we learned or what we plan to do because of that decision. And I think making good decisions, this can also help you financially because now that you know how to make really, really good decisions, you also know how much money you want to spend in these decisions. You know how far you can stretch yourself. You know what you're comfortable or not comfortable doing. And because you spend less time making decisions, this gives you more time to work on whatever it is you work on, to invest in yourself or sell your products or sell your services or network with people. So it can actually help your financial well-being by making really efficient and good decisions. So I think that's another huge benefits. So there's really health benefits and there's financial benefits to making good decisions. So there's some different strategies for you to improve your decision making. For example, what I shared earlier, once you know how you make decisions, then you should follow that strategy and go for it. So if you need to see something a number of times, and you know it's 3 times, and you want to make a decision fast, see it in the morning, see it in the afternoon, see it in the evening. Your 3 times are filled, you'll be ready to make the decision. Now, the one that's a period of time, this one is interesting, because what if I'm working with someone and I ask them that question, how many times, does someone have to demonstrate competence before you're convinced? And they say, oh, they would have to do it for 3 months. So what can I do with this? I can call the person and I can say, hey, it seems like it's been a while since we talked. It seems like it's been 3 months. Guess what? I'm trying to fill their convincer there. So even if it's only been 3 weeks, you don't want to call too soon. You don't want to call the next day. You want to wait a bit of time. However, even if I call them and say that, they'll be more likely to make the decision if I know how much time it takes them to make the decision. So that's one strategy that we can use. Another strategy is to go in when it's time to make a decision, put yourself in a decisive state. So think of other times that you've decided and made really good decisions. Think of those times, what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. And when you do that, that's going to put you in a really decisive state so that you can make decisions. So if I want someone to make a decision and I want to influence them and I want to persuade them to make a decision, I'm going to be really decisive myself. I'm going to look like I'm motivated so they pick up on that state. I want to seem decisive. I want to seem motivated to achieve things if I want that person to do the same thing. I don't want to appear like I'm nervous to make a decision. That's not going to help them make a decision. So that's another strategy. Think of other times that you were decisive and look at what you saw. Really hear what you heard and feel what you felt, and you can bring that feeling, that picture in your mind. That picture in your mind will create a feeling and use that to help you decide. Now, another strategy is you need to be really self-aware of what you're doing when you're making decisions. I think this is really, really important. This helps us make informed decisions. Now, the thing with making this type of decision is we don't want to give ourselves too much information. Because if we give ourselves too much information, then we're going to be overloaded with way too much, and we're probably going to be nitpicking on little details. So let's say I'm trying to sell someone a training or any product or service that I offer, or you can think of this when you're trying to sell someone any product or service that you offer. Give them just enough information to make a decision. If we can be self-aware of this, it's going to be easier for them to make a decision. If we give them way too many details, they're going to find something wrong. They're going to have too many questions. They're going to start nitpicking. So when you're making decisions for yourself, get just enough information. So if I'm going to go on vacation, and let's say, I'm going somewhere for 1 week, all I really need to know is when am I going? When am I returning? How much do I want to spend on the plane ticket and the hotel? Let's say that's the information that I need. And then I go and I find a flight that fits in that budget, in a hotel that fits in that budget, or in the location that I want. I don't need so much information about the hotel. It's fine. So let's say I'm going to reserve a flight to the US, and I need to stay in a hotel and I want it to be close to the airport. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to a hotel travel site. I'm going to search hotels in that area, and then I'm going to filter it for the hotel having an airport shuttle. For example, if I want to have transportation to the airport, and I put in that filter whatever else I need, and then I filter it and I only search those. I don't just want to search Chicago, Illinois near the airport, because then it's going to give me a whole list of hotels. It's going to take me more time, and it's not going to have exactly what I need. So know just a few criteria, be self-aware of that, so you can make those decisions. Now, another part of being really self-aware when you're making decisions is we learn that you should be in a decisive state to make decisions. So you're motivated to do something about it. So when you're making decisions, be focused. Be in a place where you're self-aware, where you're free from distractions, where you don't have all this outside influence or all this other information floating around. That's what I think is really, really important. I don't want to be making decisions while also having a conversation with someone else or looking at something online and trying to make a decision about what I want to do for my next training and, have distractions. Have enough self-awareness that you can be in a state where you're focused so you can then be decisive. Your mind is clear to make those decisions. Because if we're not making those decisions with a clear mind, then our results are not going to be clear. The results are going to be all muddled together. We're not necessarily going to get what we want if we were conflicted when making the decision. So if you're making a decision with a clear mind, clear results. If you're kind of going back and forth on the decision, then guess what? Your results might be back and forth. They might be blah results. They're not going to be really, really clear results because that's not the state that you were in when you were making that decision. So there's plenty of people who've had huge amounts of success making really good decisions. So I found, because I make pretty quick decisions and pretty good decisions, that the people that I attract for my services, my trainings, they usually have a pretty quick decision-making process. And they're usually ready to jump in right away. And I find that those people, they usually have a really good experience in the training because they made a good decision. They were ready to make a decision. They had a clear mind making the decision. So if you're ready to jump in, doesn't matter what it's for. I'm not telling you to buy my training today. Go ahead and make the decision. Jump in, and then you can share the success of those other people. Because lots of people, they have success when they make decisions with that clear picture in their mind. They're ready to go. They're ready to have that success. They don't necessarily keep asking questions. They're not second guessing themselves. They're going for it. And this can be anything. This could be personally. This could be professionally. Whatever it is. Just the other day, I was speaking to someone and they wanted to do some sessions. And they said, you know what? I've already decided that if this is something that I want to do, when can we start? I thought, wow, fantastic. So when this person starts working with me, I actually expect them to have really, really good results because their decision-making process was like, hey, I'm ready to do this. I want to do whatever it takes. So I think this is some good thinking to have around decisions. Obviously, make decisions that you're comfortable with, and you're going to know what decisions you're comfortable with. I can't do that for you or necessarily tell you what to do. However, just consider that. This is what I found. This is what I've seen. So let everything that you've learned today, let it kind of sink in on a deeper level, and let this motivate you to make the decisions that you want to make. And this could be a personal decision, a personal relationship. This could be what house to buy, what car to buy, what college to enroll to, what training that you want to do, what people you want to be around. Or this could be in your career. It could have to do with your health, your wealth, fitness, whatever it is. Just let what I said, just consider what I said, and let it motivate you to be the best decision maker that you can be. And why don't you kind of pay attention to the decisions that you make and how you made those decisions? And notice a pattern. So when you start making decisions in a certain way, notice what results you get. And if you're getting good results, then guess what? Make the next decision in a very similar, the same way. And then just keep doing that and doing that and doing that, because that'll lead to predictable results. And that's the whole point of these podcast episodes, is I want you to have predictable results. And you can do that with your own thinking, with your decision making. And predictable results will come when you're making decisions that are good for you. So thanks for listening. Wherever you're listening to this, if you feel like rating the podcast, go ahead and give it a 5-star on whatever platform you're listening, and go out there, make some good decisions, and create lots of success, and extend yourself to that hyper-growth zone to where you're making more difficult decisions, and really let that strategy of decision-making with those good results, take that to even bigger decisions, and you'll notice you'll have success there too. So thanks again for listening.